It's currently winter here in New England. There's snow on the ground, it's cold outside, everything's dead in the garden. So this is a great time of year to reflect on the past season. And in particular in this video, I'd like to talk about 5 mistakes that we made this past year. We've done this video a couple of times in the past, and I think it's fun to just be open about the imperfections in our gardening technique that we try to learn from moving forward. And hopefully some of you can extract something useful out of our blunders this year. So let's jump right in with the first mistake, which is actually a mistake I made years ago when I first built our raised beds. Now, pest prevention and critter protection are both super important in your garden if you want to get reliable yields from your plants. And one thing that I overlooked is creating a barrier on the undersides of our raised beds. The easiest way to do this is to just attach some form of mesh, usually a metal mesh, 1/4 inch mesh on the bottom of the raised beds when you first build them, then fill them with soil. I didn't do this because I didn't really see a need for it. There was no indication that we had any sort of tunneling critters in our yards, so we weren't too worried about it. But shortly after we started gardening, we noticed moles, but those really didn't cause any issues. They tend to eat things like grubs and other protein-rich insects under the ground, and they can form those tunnels in your yard, but usually they're not a problem when it comes to gardening. This year, however, everything changed, and I think we have a problem now with voles, which are similar to moles, but not the same because they tend to feed on roots and other vegetative growth underneath the ground. So they've been tunneling into our garden beds now, and they've ruined some of our plants. They'll basically just chew off the base of the plant will knock over, and the plant basically just dies from there. The voles seem to have no interest in the above ground leafy growth, but the damage is done, and it's really hard to bring a plant back when the base of it has been chewed off. So it's been pretty detrimental. I'm not sure what to do at this point other than if and when we do create more raised beds in our garden, which I think we will, I'll create a barrier underneath them. And quickly, while I'm on the topic of pest prevention, one other thing I think we should do soon is create a physical barrier above ground around our garden, like a small fence, to prevent things like rabbits and deer from getting in. We haven't had many issues with them yet, but that doesn't mean they won't come in the future, so that's probably something we'll want to look at pretty soon. The next mistake we made in the garden this year was getting behind on weeding. Now, this is a classic mistake. I think new gardeners make it all the time, but it's really easy to get behind. And this didn't happen at our home garden. It actually happened at our garden plots. We've recommended getting garden plots if you don't live in a place where you can garden in your own yard. It's a really nice benefit. A lot of communities have garden plots that you can rent for the season. You're basically renting some land. The problem is you have to travel and fill up your car with all of your gardening supplies and your boots and watering supplies. Everything you need to garden needs to go with you, and that can be quite a hassle. So this season we had a couple of bad weeks where we really couldn't get out there and work on our garden. And it was especially upsetting this year because we had already put out a lot of our pepper plants, varieties that we had never grown before that we were excited to grow. The weeds took over because we weren't able to get out there, and basically it became a total loss. Now, it's not to say that you can't come back from missing weeding for a couple of weeks, but where we garden, there is incredibly high weed pressure. It's unbelievable how many weeds per square inch will pop up. If it's hot for a couple of days and you don't weed, it's a problem. Really, you should be getting out there and weeding every single day. It's ideal to garden a little bit every day, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, if that's all you can spare. That's usually enough to keep things under control. If it gets out of hand, it can really ruin your gardening experience. So from here on out, we actually decided not to rent a garden plot anymore. We want to make sure someone who can use that space will actually be the one renting it. And we're going to expand our home garden going forward. Okay, mistake number 3 that we made this season was not performing a germination test on some of our older pepper seeds. We've always had near perfect germination results at the beginning of the season, so I never had a real reason to perform a germination test, but at this point, some of our older seed stock is really starting to age, and I regret not throwing some of those older seeds into some soil earlier in the season to make sure that they will sprout, because some of them this year just didn't come up. It's hard to remember exactly what may have happened here, but what I think happened is our seeds were left on our breezeway where it warms up during the day. There's sort of a greenhouse effect in there and it can get really hot. And I think that may have actually just made some of our older seeds kick the bucket entirely. Our germination rates have been very low on some of those older seeds, so ideally we should be storing all of our seeds in a refrigerator or something like that to keep them nice and cool, but we just don't have the space for that. And I think at this point, if we want to grow some of those older seeds, we'll be testing them during the winter and making sure that they're sprouting at a decent germination rate. Otherwise, if they don't sprout, we know we need to replace those seeds if we want to grow them in the spring. The next mistake I made this past season is one that I've definitely made before, and I just can't seem to always be consistent here, and that is providing support properly in advance for all of our pepper plants. We grow in a variety of different container sizes, and it changes every year. We'll use 10-gallon grow bags, 5-gallon grow bags. We have a 25-gallon growing container and a 17-gallon self-watering container. So the plant sizes vary widely across our garden, but if you're growing peppers in anything above, say, 5 gallons, that plant's gonna get pretty big, and it's probably gonna need more than just a central stake to keep it upright. And I made this mistake with just one of our plants this season. It was the Joe's Long Cayenne. And I had grown this variety a couple times in the past, and I had always been impressed with just how sturdy and upright the plant stayed in the past, so I wasn't too worried about it. I did have a central stake in there, but once the peppers started forming, of course, it starts to weigh down the plant. You get a bit of wind, and those branches, which are holding all the heavy peppers, can break off. And that is what happened. I lost one branch with probably 7 or 8 peppers on it. I was able to salvage those unripe peppers and use them, thankfully, but I was hoping to allow them to fully ripen, and usually that's when you'll have a branch break. When the peppers are just reaching maturity, or even when they're just ripening, it can be really devastating. So it's definitely worthwhile to have a proper cage of some sort around your pepper plants well in advance of harvest time, and that's what we're gonna try to do going forward. And the last mistake we made this season, and this is kind of a joke, but not really, growing too many ghost peppers. Ghost peppers are great, they're super hot, they're amazing to watch grow. You can get a huge harvest because the peppers are super lightweight and they can produce hundreds of peppers on a single plant. And that's pretty much what we did this year. We grew a yellow ghost pepper and a white ghost pepper, and they just produced tons and tons of hot peppers that we really couldn't use ourselves. So we're finding ways to process them, freeze them, give them away, and we just don't need that many ghost peppers. We did it for a reason this year because we are gonna have a video about how to grow ghost peppers to help you grow really productive ghost peppers, and that'll be coming out shortly, or maybe it already came out. But at the end of the season, we had way too many, and it was just kind of funny to go, what are we gonna do with 2 pounds of 1 million Scoville ghost peppers? You know, it's just too much for us. But hey, that could definitely differ for you if you're making hot sauce, or you know someone who likes to make hot sauce and tinker with super hots, or just has a really high tolerance. It could definitely be fine for you. Don't be shy. Let us know what mistakes you made this season and how you'll be improving next year with your pepper garden. And if you have any questions about our garden this year, you can leave those down below as well. Thanks for watching Pepper Geek, and I'll see you next time.